Hi, my name is Brendan Silva. I'm the lead of the DeSilva team. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about renting versus owning and how to think about it and how to make sense of it all, because there's a lot to make sense of. When it comes to owning a home, there's a lot of weight to it and a lot of goodness to it, but don't get it wrong, there are negatives to home ownership, right? And today we hope to break through what are the pros and cons of each. So let's start off with renting and break it down. Let's look at the good. Right? You have no maintenance, no commitments, right? No maintenance, no commitments, and really, one of the strongest arguments I ever hear for renting is this, and it's too expensive to buy. Why do people say it's too expensive to buy? Because they're seeing houses at like 400, 500, 600,000. And most of the time when people say, it's way too expensive to buy, they're not thinking of how much it really costs to rent, and they're not thinking about how affordable it can be, different down payment programs, grants, etc., in order to buy the home, right? So this is actually pretty huge. I will say this, if you are looking for something short term, let's say you are living in New York City, and you plan on being there for 3 years, probably wouldn't buy, right? I'm gonna be here for 3 years, 3 years, it may not be worth it, right? So I'm not gonna buy. But let's say you're moving from New York City to Bloomfield, New Jersey, right? You're from Manhattan, you're moving to Bloomfield, New Jersey. And you're saying, you know what, we wanna raise our family here for the next 10 years, 5 years. Guess what? You may want to seriously consider buying. And here's the good things about buying. Owning is you have total autonomy. Why do you say autonomy? You have freedom. If you're renting and your landlord one day goes, listen, I'm selling the house, you gotta get out. You're screwed. You're leased right now, you're on month to month, you're screwed. On owning, you're your own person, and that's what's so incredible. You have your own space. Now let's go through another pro of owning, right, as we compare. Guess what? It is commitment. But commitment's not always a bad thing, right? We are built upon a society that loves marriage, right? Or should love marriage. And it's a pillar, right? It's a foundational block of society. Commitment is important, right? The tallest trees are the ones that have been there the longest, right? Or the biggest trees are the ones that have been there the longest. And that is why commitment is a good thing. But also with commitment comes time, and with time comes equity. Now, let me explain what equity is. Let's say your house is worth $400,000 and you owe the bank $350,000. Well, guess what? You have $50,000 of equity. Now, really, there's 3 ways of gaining this equity. 1 is buying at a discount. 2, make improvements on the home. So let's say you bought an old house like I'm doing in Jersey City. I'm renovating the home. I'm forcing appreciation. I'm forcing equity. So that's the thing, right? So commitment equals time. So time equals equity, right? So we have this time. Right? Now, if you're looking to rent, I personally would say, listen, 3 to 5 years, max. If you're looking here, that's like your max, like, okay, I should buy. If you're looking for less than 3 years, smiley face, frown face. Do you see? So if you're here, good, you're renting. But if you're with this, you should really be over here. The problem is people get comfortable. When you're in an apartment, you have kids, you don't want to move. But you need to think ahead here. And here's a big thing about owning that people don't really realize. It's a tax benefits. You can deduct property taxes up to $10,000. There's so much write-offs you can do. You can write off everything. You can write off countertops. Literally, you can write off countertops. There's so much opportunity to maximize your take-home pay, your keep-home pay, but that's really through owning. Now, if you rent, you have 0 write-off. What are you going to write off? You're renting. One thing I really want to talk about is so important is house hacking. I mentioned it in my other video, and I really just want to make sure that we understand the fullness of it. So now let's talk about this, right? We talked about house hacking. What does it look like? So let's say you rent and you pay $1,500 a month, right, Rami? That's reasonable, right? $1,500, maybe like a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom. Like nice 2-bedroom, things are very expensive. So it's very expensive to rent. $1,500, boom. It ends up you paying $18,000 a year in rent. So that's a lot of money that you're dishing out. You're not just paying $1,500. You're paying this is how much money you're gonna have to come up with. $1,500. Then you're gonna have to come up with a month and a half security. Then you're gonna have to come up with 1 month broker fee. And then the fee for the realtor, right? A lot of times the landlord makes a ton to pay. So you have $5,250 you just came up with, right? Just to rent, that's what you have to come up with. Now let's look at the owning. So let's say you buy a two-family in Bloomfield. And let's say it's a $500,000 house. So you're a baller, right? You're really living it up. So you'll need to come up with, if it's your first house, you can do something called FHA, right? It's a first-time home buyer program where all you gotta do is come up with 3.5% down. And not only that, so here we are, 3.5% down. So it's $17,500. Okay, DP down payments. And then you have closing costs. No one ever talks about them. We can try to get the seller to pay them, which is really a blessing. But let's say we don't. Let's say we have to pay them ourselves, which is totally cool. And then $10,000, right? So this is closing costs. So $27,500. This is your total, right? So it's a lot more money, a ton more money, ridiculous amount more money than this, right? It's $22,000 more. But hold up, wait a minute, because what did we talk about? This down payment is what? It's equity. This is not, I went to the bathroom, opened the door, open up the toilet door, pull up the toilet lid, whatever it's called, and guess what? I just peed that $18,000 out. So what do I do here? I look at it and I look at it seriously. I say, okay, wow, that's a lot of money. How can I get the money? Okay, I got that money. Now let's look forward. So that $500,000, you're gonna have a mortgage of about $3,400, right? $3,400. That's your mortgage, and that includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI. Okay, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. That's your entire mortgage payment, okay? Principal is your balance. That's how much you owe on the home. Interest is how much the bank is charging your interest. Right now, the rates can go anywhere between, 2.75 to 3.75 for FHA. Now with that, you say, brother, $3,400, I was about to pay $1,500. Holy crap, oh my God. Oh. Well, let's look at it, okay? And this is literally the exact scenario my sister really was at, and Greg, I'm sure they won't mind me sharing. So $3,400. Teresa and Greg, they have a bonus unit in the attic, right? It's not legal 3-family, but they have an attic with a kitchenette, and they rent to a family friend, right? So from there, they go ahead and they charge that woman $1,000. Then they charge the second floor tenants $1,750. They charge an extra $50. Oh, sorry, $1,800, and they charge $1,800 because they rent with the garage, so they charge a little bit more. Once again, thinking, how can I make money? With that, you have $1,800. Now, how much are they paying? Who wants to do the math? So instead of paying $1,500 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, crappy apartment in Bloomfield, you're gonna be able to pay $600 for a nice 2-bedroom, 1-bath, with basement, with your driveway, with your laundry. Now, my advice to this that people may disagree with, you let me know what you think, I know it's good, is that third space, that attic, that spare room, that garage, that bonus basement. And you say, oh, but no, it's illegal. It's actually illegal. You can't rent a space out. I don't know if you guys know this. So you can't legally rent an attic or a basement. So what do we do? Like Teresa and Greg, they rent family space, right? They include it with the 3rd floor, say, hey, you can have extended family. Or what we do, and what Teresa and Greg now are doing, pushing for, is Airbnb. Airbnb. This is no headache. I will say in the renting to own, right? And this is a little bit complex. Renting, you have no headache whatsoever, you're your own thing. Buying, look how much you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay very little. Especially if you Airbnb here, right? This is the average. You're gonna be living for, you're gonna be saving so much money. It's unbelievable. It's a crazy amount of money you're gonna be saving. But with this amount of money, something that people don't think about is actually like what we talked about earlier, maintenance, right? The negatives of home ownership. So it's home ownership is maintenance. You got tenants, you gotta make sure you get good tenants. So there are steps that we do that, and I'm gonna do my next video on how to pick a good tenant. Let's break it down quickly. Renting, $1,500 a month, do things, good. Owning, you can end up paying $600 a month. The trick is the 3rd space, but even without the 3rd space, you're paying $1,600. So would you rather pay $1,500 for a house you're renting or $1,600 for a house you own? It's a no-brainer, brother. All right, guys, so my opinion, should you rent, should you own? It's not either or. There's different seasons and circumstances for both. Ultimately, it's up to you and your family and what's best for you guys. Feel free to reach out if you have questions about renting and owning. And as always, we stand and live to turn houses into homes by impacting and improving lives. So guys, have a wonderful week, and I hope you crush it.